Today, you will learn how to create a juicy product manipulation for advertisements, social media posts, or your personal projects. I will explain the process step by step along with some Photoshop tricks you don't want to miss. So stay tuned and let's hop straight into Photoshop. Okay, so first, let's create the canvas we'll be working on. Come to File and down to New. I'm going to be using the custom square size of 1080 pixels by a height of 1080 pixels. You can leave the remaining settings here as they are and click Create. Now let's create a background color. Come down to your new adjustment layer icon and click on Solid Color. I'm going to use an orange color for now. This color looks okay. Okay, now let's bring in the eyes. Come up to File and Place Embedded. I'm going to be using this eyes over here. Click Place. Now let's position it on the canvas. Yeah, this position looks good. Click Enter. Now let's bring in the oranges. So I have this image of oranges and I'm going to make a selection of it. So come to your tools and select the quick selection tool. Come up here and click Select Subject. Photoshop is going to make the selection for you. You can as well fix the part we do not select properly with the quick selection tool. And come down and click on the mask icon to make your selection. Click Ctrl T and position it on the canvas. So I'm going to position it over here. Very good. Now I feel like the eyes need some vapor, so let's turn off the orange layer for now. Come to your tools and select the brush tool. I'm going to be using this smoke or cloud brush I have over here to create some sort of vapor for the eyes. So select the layer with the eyes and come down to your new adjustment layer icon and select Solid Color. Now make it white and click OK. Select the mask and click Ctrl I to invert it. Now with the brush, you can reduce the size with the left square bracket key or increase it with the right square bracket key. Make sure the flow is at a very low point. So I'm going to keep it at 5. And then let's just paint in some vapor, because we know that when there's ice, there's sort of this white vapor that comes from ice. Alright, this looks good enough. Let's turn on the layer with the orange. Very good. Now let's bring in the image of the second orange. So File, Place Embedded again. And I'm going to be using this orange. Same process, select your quick selection tool and click Select Subject. For this one, no adjustment needed, so just click on the mask icon to make the selection. Click Ctrl+ T and position it nicely within your image. Now let's bring in a splash of orange juice. So I have this image right here. I'm going to place it at the top of the image and then right click and click on Warp. I'm going to just warp it to fit the top of our image. Very good, and click Enter. Now I have this orange image as well. Let's make a selection of that one as well. Click Ctrl T and position it at your preferred spot. So I'm going to position it right here. I'm going to right click and then distort. I want to make it a little bit more flat. So just distort it this way. And then let's just drag it to the corner. Okay, this looks good. Now I'm going to add some motion blur to it. So select the thumbnail of the layer and come up to Filter, down to Blur and then Motion Blur. Now let's position it in the direction we want. So I want it to go towards the right, kind of like going towards the right and to the bottom. So -39 looks good. Let's reduce the blur a little bit. So 25 looks good, and then you can just click OK. I have this image as well. Let's make a selection of it as well. And I'm going to position this one at the left bottom corner of our image. So let's reduce the size a little bit. Right click and distort it a little bit as well. So going to distort it this way. Yeah, this position is very good. For this one as well, I'm going to blur it, but not with motion blur. So select the thumbnail as we did at first. Come to Filter, Blur, and then Gaussian Blur. Yeah, 3.4 looks good for the blur. You can just click OK. I have this leaf as well. Let's make a selection of it as well. Let's position it inside the image. So I'm going to position it somewhere around here. Let's make it very small. I don't even know if this is an orange leaf or not, but who cares? Let's just place it over here and then let's create a duplicate of it. So click Ctrl plus J to make a duplicate. Click Ctrl plus T and drag it towards this place. Let's position this one this way. And then right click and click Flip Horizontal. Now let's add some motion blur to them. So with the thumbnail selected, File, Blur, and then Motion Blur. Let's blur this one a little bit more. And then let's change the angle a little bit. So -20 looks good for this one. Click OK. And then let's blur this one as well. So File, Blur, Motion Blur. For this one, let's reduce the blur to a very low amount. Around 8 looks good. And then let's position it this way. Okay. Now you can click OK. Now it's time to add in the orange juice. So make sure you position it behind these oranges. So let's find the position behind those oranges, which is right over here. So select the layer we used for the vapor and then import your orange juice. I already have it selected, so let's position it in the image. Yes, this looks good, and then click enter. Now as you can see, there is ice behind it, so definitely it's going to be cold. So let's bring in some water droplets to give that beautiful freezing effect. So I'm going to be using this water droplets for that. Let's position it on top of the bottle. Click enter. Now holding Alt or Option, click in between the water droplets and the juice bottle to clip the water to only the juice bottle. So let's click Ctrl plus T again and then reposition it to make it look better on the juice. Yeah, this looks okay. You can just click enter and then let's change the blend mode from normal to overlay. Overlay looks better in my opinion. And then let's add some to fill the bottom part. So click Ctrl plus J to make a duplicate of it. Hold Alt or Option and click in between the layers to clip that one as well. Click Ctrl T and drag it below your orange juice. Okay, this looks fine. Click enter. Very good. Now I think it would be nice to add sort of a gradient in the background. So just come to your solid color and then create another solid color by coming down to your new adjustment layer icon and select solid color. And for this one, we are going to use color white and then click OK. Now select the mask of your solid color and click Ctrl plus I to invert it. Select your brush tool and change it from the smoke brush we're using to a soft round brush. Now you can increase the flow to about 50% is okay. Now you can increase the brush size with the right square bracket key and then let's make a white gradient at the back. So you can just click one, let's click again and click again. Yeah, I think this looks okay. Let's make the orange background a little deeper. Yeah, this looks fine. Click OK. Very good. Now let's add some shadow below our images to make it look like it's actually touching a ground. So make sure you are on top of your background layers and then come down to your new adjustment layer icon and select exposure. Push the exposure down to make it a bit dark and then click Ctrl I to invert the mask of your exposure layer. Now come to your brush settings and squish the brush. You can squish it by pulling down this dot, so make it look flat. Yeah, as you can see, our brush is now flat, and then you can reduce the size with the left square bracket key. Now let's reduce the flow as well. I'm going to put it at 10% and then make sure the foreground color is white. If it's black, you can just click on this arrow to make it white. Now paint subtly below your images to make them look like they are touching the floor. Very good. Now we are going to create a reflection for all the images that are touching the ground. So select the topmost layer which is involved in the images touching the ground and then hold shift. Now scroll down and select the last layer that is part of this group and then click Ctrl+J to put them in a group. Let's name the group main items. Click enter. Now click Ctrl+J to duplicate your group and then drag the copy below the main one. Now click Ctrl+T and then right click and click on flip vertical. Now drag it below your images. Drag it to the bottom and make sure the bottom touches. Let's zoom in a little bit to make it easier for us. Now we want all the bottom parts to touch. So in order for that to work, come to your main items copy and right click on it and convert it to a smart object. Now click Ctrl+T and then right click and then click on warp. Now let's warp it to touch the bottom of our image. So you realize now we can manipulate it to touch properly. Now that didn't work properly, so we are going to use Puppet Warp for this. So with the layer selected, come up to edit and then down to Puppet Warp. Now we are going to warp it to preferred position. So let's make points. I'm going to make 1 point here, 1 point here, 1 point over here, and then let's drag it this way. Let's make a point here as well and drag it down. We are going to make another point here and then drag it upwards. So I'm going to continue that way until I'm done fixing the entire reflection. Let's go. Yes, now this looks okay to me. Click enter. Very good. Now let's zoom out. Now let's reduce the opacity to make it look like a reflection. So reduce the opacity a little bit. 40% looks very nice for the reflection. Now create a mask for it by clicking on the mask icon. Select the brush to make it look normal again. Let's change the foreground color to black and then paint to clean some of the bottom parts. Let's increase the opacity a little bit. So 50% opacity looks good for the image. Now I have this light ray here. I'm going to position it at the top left part of our image. So let's increase the size a little bit. I'm going to be using that to give the product some highlight. So let's place it over here and click enter. Now let's change the blend mode from normal to screen. Now let's just add a small highlight on the left hand side of the product. So select the group and then open it up. Now select the product and then make sure you are on top of it. Come down to your new adjustment layer icon and select exposure. Now clip it to the orange juice and then increase the exposure. So let's increase it to a bright amount. So +1 is okay. And then click Ctrl+I to invert the mask. Now with the brush tool selected, you can reduce the size and then let's zoom in a little bit. So select the brush tool and then I'm going to keep the flow at 10%. Make sure the foreground color is white and then let's draw some highlights onto the image. Just on the left hand side of the image. So make it look much more juicier. Now I'm going to increase it and then reduce the flow to 4% is okay, and then let's just add a bigger highlight onto it. Let's zoom out. Okay, so this is before and this is after. Before and after. You can see we've created a beautiful product manipulation and every client is just gonna love this image. Thanks for watching. If you learned something today, don't forget to leave a thumbs up and subscribe for more awesome tutorials from me. Now, I recently created a tutorial on how to make a circle collage poster design, which you will absolutely love. So you can check it out next. Never stop creating, and I'll see you in my next video.